Well, here we go, boys and girls. It is that time of the year again where the playoffs is about to begin, and the journey of to see who is going to be crowned as the 2022 MLS Cup champion will begin. And we start off with the first round matchup where there's going to be 6 games that's going to be happening. We get 3 happening in the Western Conference and 3 happening in the Eastern Conference. Now, because of the fact that I've only had one day to do the preview of all these games, and normally I maybe do like an expansive kind of preview of each of this playoff game, but like I said, since I only have like one day to do so, I'm basically going to do the preview of these playoff games similar to what I do with the regular season preview. It's obviously something I didn't to do. I would love to do an expansive preview of these playoff games, but since I just don't have time to do so, that's why I'm going to be, like I said, just do a preview. That's going to be a little bit similar to the regular season preview that I do, but it's going to be a little bit more in-depth in terms of looking at each of these games. So we start off with the first game between the New York Red Bulls versus FC Cincinnati. That will start at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 12:08 p.m. local time. By the way, there's a lot of early games that's going to be happening this year in the playoffs, and I guess maybe the reason why they want to have these early games is, maybe not conflicted with some primetime event that is college football and also in the MLB playoffs. But obviously, these early kickoff is definitely not ideal for me because, I still have to work during this time, and that, the 2 games that going to happen today, there is no chance that I'm going to be able to watch this live. So I'm going to basically DVR both of these games, and I'm going to watch it a little bit later on. But in terms of this matchup, this game is going to be on 2DN, which most likely it's going to be on Twitter. And that may be the case in the next game I'm going to talk about too. So if you thought that maybe we saw the last of Twitter in terms of broadcasting MLS game, well, I forgot that in the playoffs they also sometimes broadcast game on Twitter too. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that we have to live through it one more time, and hopefully maybe this is going to be the last time to do so. But in terms of this matchup between the Red Bulls versus FC Cincinnati, it's a 5-3-2 all-time meeting between both of these teams. In the last 5 head-to-head matchup, it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. Before, it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams. Then the Red Bulls won 1-0 against FC Cincinnati, and then it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, and then FC Cincinnati won 1-0 against the New York Red Bulls. And when you look at the last 5 head-to-head meeting, yeah, it's been very low scoring, and I expect maybe this could be the case in this game because the Red Bulls is a team that don't usually play in high-scoring kind of game, especially when they're playing at home. Now, for the Red Bulls, though, they definitely want to not only change the narrative, that they don't want that so Metro kind of moment happen in this first round, but they also want to finally win their first game in the playoffs in the last 4 seasons, because they've lost 3 straight playoff games in the last 3 years. The last 3 seasons they've been resort in first round exit, and not to mention they've only won 6 home game this season, which is one of the fewest this season in terms of teams playing at home. Now that goes kind of the same with FC Cincinnati in terms of their home record. They also have only won 6 home game, but the good news for Cincinnati is that they're not at home in this one, and that as I mentioned, this is the first playoff appearance. We definitely have a couple teams that's going to be making their first playoff appearance, but they are also one of the best teams on the road. 6-7-4 on the road, a very respectable record. And that, yeah, like I said, for the Red Bulls, this is probably the worst case scenario or the worst matchup for them, because again, when you're not playing well at home and you're playing a team that is more comfortable to play on the road, it gets a little bit kind of dicey to see how this game, of course, would turn out. But what I'm going to be interested coming out of this game is that, for Cincinnati, since it is the first playoff appearance and a lot of these guys are playing in the playoffs in the first time, is there going to be some nerves that's going to be featured? I mean, for the Red Bulls, they shouldn't be feeling it because I'm pretty sure a lot of these guys have been in that moment before, but at the same time, maybe there will be nerves saying that, yeah, the last 3 times when they've been in this situation, it has all resort in first exit. So there could be pressure for them in terms of deliver again, and especially that's also another thing that doesn't favor the Red Bulls, where if you want to look at the the game where, who needs to, of course, win this more. And I know it sounds crazy I'm asking this question because in the playoffs, both teams want to win this so they can move on to the next round. But in terms of which team needs to move on into the next round so that they don't be considered another failure of a season and will be scoring at, it's got to be the New York Red Bulls, because again, for FC Cincinnati, they really have nothing to lose in this game. Like, if they lose this game, it will be disappointing, but if they make the play for the first time in their franchise history, and that's all the fans been asking, and then some in terms of what this season was about. But if the Red Bulls miss the playoffs again, not only we're gonna say it's a that's so Metro kind of moment, but this is just amplified the problem with the Red Bulls pretty much throughout their existence, where they just cannot get over the hump, and now recently just can't even get over the hump of getting a playoff win. Now, moving on, we got the Airway Galaxy versus Nashville SC that will start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is also 12:08 p.m. local time. Again, a lot of early starts in terms of these playoff games, especially on Saturday. Now, this game, again, is also going to be on 2DN, so most likely it's going to be on Twitter. But in terms of the all-time meeting, 1-1-0 in favor of the Airway Galaxy. Neither of these teams really have met each other a lot. In fact, coming into this season, this is really the first time either of these teams have met, and in those meetings, it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams before the Galaxy did win 1-0 against Nashville SC. Now, for the Galaxy, it's been a while since they have played a home playoff game. In fact, it's been the first one that they're playing at home since 2016, and really the first playoff appearance since 2019. Again, this Galaxy team, they have took a huge fall from grace after the Bruce Arena era, and after the era that features some of the most well-known player to ever play for the Galaxy, guys like Robbie Keane, David Beckham, and Landon Donovan, and even with their legendary head coach Bruce Arena. But ever since the Bruce Arena era, this team has not done well at all, and has took a huge fall from grace. Now for Nashville, this is their third playoff appearance, but they have won every one of their first round playoff matches in their existence. I mean, last year they won their first playoff match against Orlando City, and then in the previous year, when they made it as a 7 seed, they not only were able to win in the play-in round against Intermiami, but they also won their first round proper matchup against Toronto FC on the road. So yeah, there could be a case that when you look at this game that could continue for Nashville, and especially this is another matchup that if you're the Galaxy, I mean, this season at home, it's been a huge hit and miss. I mean, there's been times where they've been good, but then there's times where they've been bad, and you're facing against a team that they know how to win on the road, that is Nashville SC. I won't be surprised Nashville will pull off the upset in this one. Again, many people have said that in terms of all the upset, these two games could be the one where we see road team do well. I mean, I know historically road team have not done well in the playoffs, but when you look at both of these teams, they are set up to do well on the road. And when you look at these two home teams, at least one of them are not set up to do well at home, and one of them has been very inconsistent. So yeah, there's a chance that Nashville can definitely pull that off, and especially if Hani Mukhtar is going to be that difference maker. And that's also going to be key to see who is going to be the big difference maker on the attack. Is it going to be Hani Mukhtar for Nashville, or is it going to be Ricky Puig, or even Chicharito going up front, or maybe even Dejan Joveljic, who has mostly been coming off the bench, but if Nashville is just kind of hanging on for dear life, maybe he can be a difference maker, scoring a late equalizer or even scoring a late winner. Either way, it should be a very fun game, and that again, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be moving on to the next round. Now, moving on in the next match is another popular upset pick between Austin FC versus RSL. So now we get to the Sunday game. And by the way, to tell you how these games are happening on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, well, it's basically every day it has two games. So these are the Saturday game, these are the Sunday game, and then these are the Monday game. I kind of find it weird why they have Monday day games. Like, I feel like what they should have done is maybe have these as the Friday game, and then the Saturday game, and then of course the Sunday game, because again, Monday in terms of MLS action, that usually just doesn't happen often, and that there's not a lot of MLS game that happens on a Monday, especially in the playoffs. But in terms of this one, the Sunday action, it's Austin FC versus RSL, as this game will also start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 2:18 p.m. local time, and this one is going to be on ABC. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, well, so far the home team has been the most dominant in terms of the all-time meeting. Both of these teams have won their 2 home games against each other. And the last 4 head-to-head matchup, it was Austin winning 3-0 against RSL, then RSL winning 2-1 against Austin. But then Austin returned the favor by winning 2-1 against RSL before in the first ever meeting, it was RSL winning 1-0 against Los Verdes. Now, speaking of Los Verdes, this is their first playoff appearance after, of course, only in their second year. While for RSL, this is also the second straight year that they made it as a 7 seed, and we know what happened when they made it as a 7 seed last season. They got all the way to the Western Conference Final and was really the Cinderella story of MLS. And again, I've said before, I feel like it could happen again because of the way that they play, and especially again with Austin, down the stretch, they have not done very well against playoff team, and also with the way that I'm just worry about this defense again, looking very wobbly, especially when they of course play against each other. This could be an early exit for Austin if they're not careful, especially on the defensive end. But one thing I will say is about this game, I expect this should be an entertaining game, because any Austin game, there's going to be some craziness that could happen in a game, and that I feel like this could be one of them where don't be surprised there could be a high scoring kind of affair, because that's exactly the way that Austin FC like, and whether that's good for their fans' heart or not, it's just their identity. And again, I that kind of identity doesn't usually go well when you head into the playoffs, but who knows? They're gonna trying to stick to it and hope they can maybe once again do what they did in the last game, which is maybe have someone come off the bench, or even have their difference maker like Driussi or Fagundes being the goal scorer that they've been in and the assist maker throughout this entire season. Now, moving on in the next match is Montreal versus Orlando City. So this is going to be a late start, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Well, it's a late start in terms of East Coast game, but it's not really late start here in the West Coast. But the late start is 8:18 p.m. local time, as this game is going to be on ESPN, and one of the rare time where we see a national televised game televised here in the U.S. that is going to be taking place in Canada, because when you look at all the Canadian games, you notice why FS1 or ESPN never broadcast game in Canada. Well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that TSN has the monopoly to do so, but obviously once the playoffs begin, that maybe is kind of all bets are off, where these networks can actually do get a chance to broadcast game in Canada. And this of course is the case where this game is going to be taking place at Stade Saputo in Montreal. Now in terms of the all-time meeting, it's actually eight wins apiece for both team and 3 draws, so it's a very tight all-time meeting. And the last 5 head-to-head, it was a 4-1 win that Montreal has against Orlando, before Orlando did win 2-0 against Montreal. Then Montreal won 2-0 against Orlando City before it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, and then Montreal winning 4-2 against Orlando City. Now, key points coming into this game is that technically this is the first proper playoff game that Montreal will be playing since 2016. Yes, I know they made it to the play-in round, but again, the play-in round, it back in the COVID-shortened season, you maybe take that as a grain of salt, the fact that, that was just kind of a play-in round to the actual first round proper that happened in the MLS playoffs. But, if you're kind of a guy that maybe count the play-in round as a playoff game, then yeah, technically they made it back in 2020. But again, this is the first time that they have actually made it to the playoff properly since 2016, and it's also been a long time since Montreal has had a home game. In fact, I think the last time they had a home game was in 2016, when they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Final, and then we had that all-Canadian affair between Montreal and Toronto FC that will definitely go down as one of the best, if not the best series in the playoffs we have ever seen in MLS history. Now for Orlando, they're looking to win only their second playoff game and first without going to a PK shootout. Remember, despite the fact that this team has been having a lot of success in tournament, that's just not the case in terms of playoffs. I mean, they've only won one of them, and that, of course, was against NYCFC, and that also is a game that we'll never forget and go down as one of the craziest, but also one of the most shithousery kind of playoff game we have ever seen in league history. So yeah, there could be a lot of firsts in terms of this one, and coming into this game, obviously I think Montreal is going to be the favorite because they're the home side and they have the talent to, of course, beat an Orlando City side that, again, I wonder is they're going to just do what they usually do, which is kind of sit back, bunker, and hope to score a goal on the run. I mean, for the most part, it's been kind of successful for them this season, and in some way, if you do it like that and they have the enough defensive strength to soak all the pressure, it's actually a good recipe to have in the playoffs. But again, a very strong Montreal team. I don't know if that's going to work out. Though, again, the advantage I will say that Orlando does have is playoff experience, because, again, a lot of these guys have been in this kind of situation before. A lot of them were in that playoff team last season that lost to Nashville, and also in the previous year. So there could be a case that they're not going to be new to this when they, of course, play against Montreal. But now, moving on, in the next match, we got NYCFC versus Intermiami. So this game will start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:20 p.m. local time. This game, of course, is going to be on FS1, and it's part of the first of doubleheader that's going to be happening on FS1. And that's also another way you can tell that there's going to be like 2 games each. So you got the Twitter games, you got the ESPN Network game, and then you got the Fox Sports game that's going to be happening on Monday night. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, NYCFC have been the more dominant side, 5-0-1 over Intermiami, but Intermiami finally broke that duck in the last game against NYCFC, finally getting their first win, a 3-2 win against NYCFC. Then it was NYCFC winning 2-0 against Intermiami, a 3-1 win against Intermiami, that is NYCFC, a 2-0 win, and then a 3-2 win that NYCFC had over Intermiami. Now, for NYCFC, this is the 7th straight year that they have made to the playoffs, which is the second longest. Only their intercity rival New York Red Bulls have the longest active playoff streak. And for Intermiami, it's the first ever playoff appearance. And I'm just going to say the same thing I said in this game between FC Cincinnati and the Red Bulls, and basically said the same thing about this game with NYCFC, where, the visiting team, they really are playing with house money in this one. They really have nothing to lose other than the fact that Gonzalo Higuain definitely want to have a great playoff run to kind of maybe bow out and retire as a champion. But other than that, for Intermiami, a team that is way ahead of their schedule in the rebuild, even if they lose this game, there's no shame in terms of losing that. But even then, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to make it tough for NYCFC, and especially for NYCFC, another thing I haven't mentioned here on the board, it's not taking place at Yankee Stadium. It's going to be taking place at Citi Field, which maybe it's a little bit better for NYCFC because their record at Citi Field is okay. I mean, it's not Yankee Stadium level of great, but at least it's not Red Bull Arena, which is the place they have really struggle when they play home games there. But still, I think the last time they, of course, had a playoff game at Citi Field, they lost that one to Toronto FC. So, I mean, if you look at playoffs record in terms of at Citi Field, they're pretty much 0-1 in terms of that. And not to mention, there's that question on the attacking front of who's going to be stepping up in that attack. Is Abear, who most likely going to be the replacement for Talis Magno, going to be the guy that step in and do well in this, knowing the fact that, again, that's the question now on the attack. Who can, of course, step in that? And for Intermiami, we know, I won't be surprised if Gonzalo Higuain score in this game. And I won't be surprised it might be late in this game, because he is becoming a guy that, I don't want to say he's a super sub, because, he doesn't come off the bench and score late winner, but he's been a guy that's known for late game heroics, and I won't be surprised he might do it again in this one against NYCFC. And then finally, the last game on the board, and the last game in the first round playoff match, is FC Dallas versus Minnesota United. And you talk about late start. Yeah, this is the definition of a late start. 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. The actual kickoff doesn't start until 8:38 p.m. local time. Although I think it's kind of good the fact that it's a late start, because, again, you don't want to play a day game in the hot Texas sun, even if we're in October, which kind of is also a little bit mind-boggling, the fact that this game is starting in the daytime. Like, again, who thought it was a great idea to put Austin versus RSL in a hot Texas kind of sun. But at least this one, it won't be the case. It will be during the nighttime. And I also heard that the temperature in Dallas isn't actually going to be, or actually not Dallas, Frisco to be exact. I'm sorry, Dallas fan, but you knew it was coming with the way that everybody always make fun of Dallas of playing in Frisco, because that's literally where they play in the home ground. But the weather there actually isn't that bad. So for the Loons, very fortunate that they don't have to play in a hot and sticky kind of night in Dallas in this one. Though that being said, in terms of the all-time meeting, it's 6 wins for both of these teams and 2 draw. And that in terms of the last 5 head-to-head matchup, well, last time that they played, Dallas was able to win 3-0 on the road, but Minnesota did win 2-1 on the road against FC Dallas. Then it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, and 1-0 win that Minnesota has against FC Dallas. Now for Dallas, I talk about how this is a team that I feel like a lot of people are sleeping, is because of the fact that this team has been very good at home, and they're starting to reestablish their great home field advantage. They're unbeaten in the last 7 home games and have been heading into the playoffs red hot. Whereas for Minnesota, it's been the opposite. I mean, while they have made the playoffs for the 4th straight season, which is the longest out of any team in the Western Conference, this team have only won 1 out of the last 7 and only have snapped their 6-game winless run on that decision day game where they won against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So when you have a team that is not doing very well heading to the playoffs versus a team that is red hot in the playoffs and are red hot at home, you can only see one thing, and that of course is FC Dallas getting the victory. But you never know. Minnesota, I think, as much as again, I just don't understand why a lot of Loons fans are very, very optimistic about this game. And again, you can call me pessimistic when it comes to supporting my team, but I just don't see it. Like, I don't trust this defense is able to keep the likes of Jesus Ferreira, Alan Velasco, and Paul Arriola quiet in the attack. And I especially don't see the fact that if Reynoso gets shut down, there's going to be other guys on this team that is going to carry this team to glory. So yeah, I think Dallas should of course get the win in this one. And now, if I maybe have just jinxed them in every way in this one, I apologize in advance. And just letting you know, I'm not doing reverse psychology as a way to make sure Minnesota, of course, get the win in this one. It's just the way I see it. I just think that Dallas will have the better advantage in this one. And in case if they don't win it, then yeah, expect me to, of course, have to apologize to all Dallas fans by pretending that I'm using reverse psychology in this one to hope that my team, of course, can move on into the next round. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all of these playoff games. Again, I do apologize if I didn't do like an expansive preview in terms of each of these playoff games. But one thing I will do is that I will be reviewing each of these. Well, let me see if I want to. Maybe I'll try to review each of these games at time. Well, yeah, I'll probably do that just to kind of make up for it. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.